Hey everyone, Friday Theolog mailbag time. And Art and I are still continually fighting over the catechism, even though I'm right. So we're going to have another catechism question for today. Art asks, why is there a short catechism? It is the same reason. It's the same reason Catholics have Saturday night services for convenience. I'm still trying to figure out why our prior pastors didn't spend time on catechism if it's okay, if it's so important to us. Do you think we should study the teaching of the Pope and believe his teachings is from the Lord, perhaps for Friday Theolog? Does the Pope think Presbyterians are Christians or a cult? So there are three questions in there, and I'll try and handle them one by one. The first reason is, why is there a short catechism? Well, that's actually an easier thing to answer. The reason there's a short catechism is because there's a longer one. Adults were expected to memorize the longer one, and the short catechism is something that you would teach kids when they were growing up because it's simpler. It uses the answers are shorter. The reason that we are using the short one in place of the long one is because as much as I love all of you, and you know I love all of you, if we are still grinding our wheels a little bit to remember the first question of the shorter catechism, then I'm not in any rush to put us through a longer one. If you get my meaning there a little bit, we still have those training wheels on. If we want to do the longer catechism, that's something we can definitely work on, Art, in the future. If you're really interested in it, I'm all for it. Trying to figure out why our prior pastors didn't spend time on the catechism if it's so important to us. Yeah, I mean, I think I've explained this before, but like, it used to be a very big deal until the early 1900s, right? It was the cornerstone of all Presbyterian teaching. I know that some people in the church have brought up that they actually remember learning a few questions from Reverend Fowler from the catechism, but it definitely has fallen out of use or committed use since the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. So the reason they didn't is probably because there was generally a movement away from this type of stuff in that time period. Why? Probably because they generally thought, well, I think the church was comfortable in its position in society, that it didn't think it needed to do the same things it always did, that it thought people were just going to come to the church, and that people are generally cultural Christians, so they can just be there. So it definitely fell away during that time period. I'm not going to even try and slander or anything else the prior pastors that have been at CPC. I don't know why they didn't do it. I'm it's fine that they didn't. I just think it's an important thing that our church has to do going forward, because I think that it's important to have answers to these questions and to train people up in the faith, because the point of it is to get you out there, and people are going to ask you these questions, right? They're going to ask you, what is the meaning of life? They're going to ask you, what do you think about sin? They're going to ask you all these things, and you should have answers for them. And the catechism is a great way to implant little answers in there, even if you don't remember it completely. Do you think we should study the teaching of the Pope and believe his teachings is from the Lord? No. Well, study the teaching of the Pope. Are you talking about the current one or popes in the past? Not all popes are created equally. Do I believe that any of their teachings are from the Lord? No, I don't believe any of their teachings are from the Lord. I don't believe the catechism is from the Lord, right? These are man-made things that we use to try and answer questions. I believe you might still be caught up on this idea that catechisms are Catholic, which they're not. I think I've read before the harsh things that our catechisms have to say about the Catholic Church, but you can just go to what all of them say about the Lord's Supper, and you'll see a question around there somewhere where it talks about the Mass and how bad the Mass is. So don't worry, they're not Catholic. In the sense of studying what the Pope says, in the sense of like a Bible study or a historical church history course sometime in the future, we might run into something popes have said in the past. Not all popes are bad. I wouldn't recommend studying what they have to say, though, unless you're interested in what topic they're talking about. So I don't know. I would treat them as any other Christian figure. So I don't think that we have to study them. I don't think that their teachings come from the Lord or that they have a direct thing between them and God, right? In the sense that maybe the Catholic Church is sometimes taught. And the last question: does the Pope think Presbyterians are Christians or a cult? I don't know. He's never spoken about Presbyterians in general, but if it's what they believe about everything else, Protestants, they don't believe we're a cult. I believe the technical terminology for Protestants from the Catholic Church is our lost or misguided brothers, right? So they still view Presbyterians and every other Protestant group as just Christians, but that they are misguided in what they believe. Before the Second Vatican Council in the 1950s and 60s, there was much harsher teaching about Protestants and a teaching that only people who were inside the Catholic Church were saved. But that was relaxed greatly. I think you would be hard pressed to get someone like Pope Francis, who's generally a pretty open and flowery type of guy, a kumbaya type of guy, to say that Christians or Presbyterians or other Protestants are a cult. So yeah, so there's an answer to each for your questions. Yeah, I'll try and look back and see if I can find anything from the previous pastors as to why they didn't use the catechism. I don't know. We'll see. All right, everyone have a wonderful weekend. I will see you on Sunday for service. I look forward to it. Peace out.